You ever just have one of those days? I'm having one of those days. But they said today was not a good day to die, so I did not. But anyway, what is going on? Q here from Retro Q Gaming. And because I did not, well, I guess we'll push forward with episode 29 of our Quack experimental podcast. Some curious stuff to talk about this week. We'll see how it goes. It feels much, much smaller than usual, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll open it up first with a slight expansion or a slight segue from a video I made just the other day. The video in question was about Gears of War 4 versus Gears of War 5 and the economy of Horde mode, the risk and reward, the investment and reward, and, well, it's just the overall economy balance. Now, this one is semi-related to that in the sense that there was a huge problem with Gears of War 5 and its quitting problem. In the case, even of Horde, even of Versus, I only didn't really experience it too much in Escape, which I've barely played at this point. But in Horde mode, it's a big problem because there's no option to join in progress. Now, coming on from Gears 4, when someone leaves, they now in Gears 5 are replaced by an AI soldier, which is better than not having anything. AI soldiers have saved me or friends or teammates, whatever it is, for a decent amount of times. If they go down or whatever, AI soldier will kind of just run through everything. But that's beside the point anyway. So there are some slight improvements, but if someone would quit in Horde mode previously, you would be at a big disadvantage. With one person gone, your team is down 20% firepower. Two people, 40%, even if the bots and all are there. So quitting was a huge problem. Now, it seems like in Gears 4 at least anyway, they tried to alleviate it by eventually making the bonuses and the rewards and whatnot for staying to wave 30, 40, 50 and just doing all of that so much more lucrative, because frequently many people would just pick a bounty and go 1 to 20 and quit from there. And then eventually, of course, they added Horde Light, but that's beside the point. So in Gears 5, they have got rid of much of that stuff. There's no 20-wave Horde Light, save for events. The current Terminator event is a 20-wave deal, but it's just not as good as regular Horde. And quitting is still a big problem, even without the 20-round, 20-wave bounties. So what they've started doing is they've started rolling out new systems that would check people's accounts and basically the only way I can put it is if you're a rampant quitter or a frequent quitter, you start having penalties levied against you. Now, this is interesting because games can generally do this in different ways. They can have different ways to combat quitting. Now, Gears of War 4, for example, would highly incentivize staying to the later waves in order to give you better rewards in order to do so. Better experience, better cards and whatnot too. Now, this is different because Gears of War 5, like I said, is handing out suspensions. And they're doing it retroactively as well. So if you have been a habitual quitter, these only came into effect a few days ago, but if you have been a habitual quitter in the probably just over a month since launch, this can retroactively hit you. Now, they haven't gone into the specific details about, say, if you quit at least twice a day out of 10 matches or a percentage or whatever. They haven't gone into that. But some people, notably one person, especially, has put up the details of when they tried to log in to Gears of War 5 the other day and were hit by a splash screen. This splash screen went out and said, hey, you have a suspension against your account. Now this guy, this guy has an account suspension from Gears of War 5 online services for 640 days. That's almost 2 years. 2 years being, 730 days? So, yeah, 640 days. That's a long, long time anyway. So naturally, this kind of blew up a little bit on social media. It was posted on Twitter, and it kind of went from there. And one of the higher-ups in the coalition and the team behind it, and I'm not sure if he's the community manager or whatever, or was just passed along, but apparently, when he saw this, they looked in, and it was gaining traction, they looked into his account. And they defended it. They defended what they did because they looked into it and they posted out that not only is this guy a serial and habitual quitter, but on the day in question, he had quit 28 out of 21 games in that day alone. In that day alone. 640 days. You know what? Do you know how I feel about this? Good. Fuck them all. That's what I say. Burn them all to the ground. Ban the shit out of them. Let the people who want to play the game and want to play it properly and put the investment and time into it, let them be the ones to remain with the ability to play the game. Don't let it be the salty bitch quitters. I've had people... I'm going to give you a little story about this now in a few minutes, actually, right? But anyone else, hopefully this applies to Horde as well. Obviously, this will mainly apply to Versus because that's the big one. But I hope this applies to Horde as well. I guess, for argument's sake, you can say it'll probably, hopefully apply to Escape as well. But, I mean, that game mode is shit, and it's dead, and wool add. Anyway, I hope it applies to Horde because, like I mentioned earlier, so many different times when people would quit out early at the start, people would quit out at wave 20 or whatever it is, just quit out in general, and you'd either be left with an AI bot or maybe someone could invite a friend or something, but it's very, very rare that would happen. And there's no option to autofill when you're joining a game in progress. There's no option to join one, or when you're trying to search for a game, I should say. There's no option to join a game in progress, which is a bit of a shame, really, because it'd be nice to join in on that kind of thing sometimes. So, yeah, I'm sick and tired of whiny bitch Xbox players specifically, because 99% of the people who do this are Xbox players from my thousands of hours experience with Gears of War 4 and 5. And, yeah, just dropping when you don't get your way or doing something stupid in the first few rounds or whatever it is, just get the fuck out of here. Anyway, I want to say something that's especially fun and give a little story in relation to this, because this happened after I wrote these notes. So it happened during this week. I was playing a game of Versus. Now, I joined a game of Versus. Some guy, it was already in progress. It was about halfway through the game. Some guy on the other team was fairly beasting. He had something like 17 or 18 kills and maybe 2 deaths. So I managed to kill him like 4 or 5 times in a row. It was fantastic. And I didn't die because I'm a deadly Gears player. So I was kicking the shit out of this guy. And he seemed to get very, very upset because he made a beeline for me a lot of the time. And it all culminated in 2 separate things. One, when I managed to sneak up behind him and chainsaw him from behind. That was glorious. He must have been so pissed off about that. But another time, he got the drop on me. And because I'm a better Gears player, and I'm an absolutely beast mode Gears player, I managed to turn it around and kill him. Or not so much kill him. I turned him around. I defeated him. So he went down. What did I do? I picked him up to use as a meat shield with my handgun. Now, if you're not familiar with how Gears of War Versus mode plays, when you take someone as a meat shield to have in front of you, well, that person can't respawn until their body is destroyed from your hands. So as long as you're still physically holding them, they can't respawn. Now, the best thing about that, I managed to hold on to him because I'm a deadly ass Gears player for about 2 or 3 more minutes before he rage quit because he couldn't respawn. Why? Because I am better than him and he couldn't fucking take it. So sticking with the Microsoft camp so far, we have Halo Infinite. Now Halo Infinite, which is of course the different name for Halo 6, is going to be launching, hopefully at least anyway, based on this story, in 2020, the end of 2020, to coincide with the brand new Xbox 2.4's release, as well as the Xbox One version, and of course the glorious PC Gaming Master Race version. Now, this game is having a little bit of a tough time. It's having a little bit of development problems, development issues, development hell, you could almost call it, because with everything that's going on, it feels like the game is basically falling apart. That's bad. Now, previously, a couple of months ago, I even talked about it on here too, the creative director, Tim Longo, for 343 Industries, who was creative director on Halo Infinite, left 343 Industries completely. So he didn't just leave the project, but he left the entire studio. Now that's a bit worrying, when the entire creative director, who's basically the head of the game and the top of the game, when he leaves. Now, he was kind of replaced. I say kind of because the next person in charge didn't become the creative director, but Mary Olsen became the lead producer, and she basically took over most of those duties. She was the campaign lead producer, which of course is naturally going to be a big part of Halo. Now, this project is looking to be a disaster. Unfortunately, in such a short period of time, Mary Olsen, the lead campaign producer, and Tim Longo, the creative director, have both departed the studio in a very, very short period of time. 2 high-tier creators and people involved in it in such a short period of time is never a good sign. Halo Infinite has great potential, thanks to the legendary ending of Halo 5. Halo 5's story mode was pretty crap. The gameplay was okay because, well, it was kind of generic. I won't say generic, but it was standard fare Halo gameplay that you would expect. So it was decent in that regard. But the story, as well as the two teams thing, that was a load of shite. Many people hated the overarching story of Halo 5 as well. But the legendary ending for Halo 5 set up a potentially amazing Halo 6. So I'm hoping Halo Infinite delivers on that, because that is Halo 6. Now, hopefully they don't fuck it up, because, well, first off, it was 343 Industries, and now with all these development problems and all too, I am omega worried. We still have a year. We still have about a year. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed. I don't think it will be delayed, because they really, really, really need to have that launch alongside their console, which kind of worries me as well, because if it does have so many issues, are we going to have a repeat of the Master Chief Collection in order just to hit a deadline? I don't know. Halo Infinite, I'm praying you're good. I'm praying you're great. And of course, you're coming back to PC with the Master Chief Collection and Halo Reach. I can't wait. That needs to hurry up, actually. But they need to get a rein on this. They need to get it back in line. They need to get it with proper production. They need to keep it going. They need to have some direction, some leadership, whatever. Not just people dropping out, high profile, high tier, top tier people, important people, dropping out left, right, center every couple of weeks. What happens if we lose someone every month? Someone high profile and someone fairly instrumental in it. What if we lose them every month between now and the game's launch? What if we lose them every 2 months? How much is that going to change? When the next person takes over, how much are they going to change what was originally as a plan and what was originally set in stone behind them already? This could be a disaster. I'm hoping it's not. I really, really and truly, I'm hoping it's not. But it's not looking good. But now on to a fun one, because Resolution Gate is back. Or depending on who you're asking, is it Gamergate? Now, the funny thing about that is, well, we'll see it. But anyway, we're talking about ethics in journalism today. Usually because, well, there's all sorts of questionable ethics in journalism and bullshit and whatnot. Especially because games journalism isn't really a career. Games journalism, bloggers, basically, that's all it is. Anyway, this one is stirred up by the Outer Worlds. Now, Outer Worlds is an Obsidian game, so depending on what way you look at it, it's not a first-party game, essentially. It's kind of weird, because Obsidian were originally contracted by Take-Two. And they were or is it Take-Two or 2K Games? And I think it was 2K, because 2K are under Take-Two, so it's the same thing, really, at the end of the day. But they were originally contracted by whichever one of these companies to develop the Outer Worlds. And they were going to release it on PC, on PS4 and Xbox One, with a late Switch port eventually later announced, because that's all it is. It's a late port machine. But anyway, of course, during the tenure of this, or during the development cycle, Obsidian was bought by Microsoft. Now, this game is still coming out on all 4 platforms, so there's no change in that regard and way. But it's also out soon. It's out within a few days. I think it's out on the 25th, which is within a couple of days. It's basically next Friday. Now, some information came out about this. People are getting their hands on early copies, review copies, and just other types of info and all too. Now, straight away, many places that got their hands on this noticed, or what they believe to be noticed, most of them incorrectly, but that's where the whole games journalism questioning comes in, is many people first instantly reported without proper research that the Outer Worlds for Xbox One is Xbox One X enhanced, but is not PS4 Pro patched or PS4 Pro enhanced. I always say patched because it's alliteration, but it's not PS4 Pro patched on PS4 Pro. Now, of course, many people jumped all over this. You had all the fanboy websites jumping all over this. I say fanboy websites, but you had pretty much all of the individual single target platforms websites, like say you've got a website that only deals in PlayStation stuff. They instantly jumped on all of this, naturally, to shit on the other guys. Now, it gets a little bit interesting, because the Xbox One X version is listed as 4K, whereas, depending on who you're asking, the PS4 Pro version would render at 1920 by 1080, which is 1080p. Now, a studio involved with the development of the game put out an official comment, an official thing, to say that, no, the PS4 version is pro-patched to run at 1440p and will upscale to 4K. Okay, that's fine. Now you may be wondering where the ethics in journalism and the ethics of this whole situation comes in. Well, many of those Sony exclusive fanboy websites that I talked about, they explicitly spun it to make the other guy look bad, to make Microsoft look bad, to shit all over Microsoft. Now, specifically, my example here in this video is Push Square. I've had a beef with them the last maybe 2 weeks. They've just been really bad. But they're my big specific example that I want to use in this one. So first off, they published this article, as they do, to attack Microsoft, and of course did that. Then they posted an update. In this update, they specifically said that they tested it, and they found that it output at 1080p. Not only have this website never shown one demonstrable example of them being able to test anything, or even saying how they tested it, or anything related to that whatsoever. They just said they tested it, and it was 1080p. Now, of course, later that day, when the statement was put out by the studio to clarify and correct them, they updated the article again. They updated it to say that the studio involved said, yes, it is 1440p upscaled to 4K on a PS4 Pro, and it is PS4 Pro patched. But the curious update that they said that they performed was gone. There was no reference to it, no clarification. They didn't say they were wrong. They didn't say how they tested it and why they got those results despite them being wrong. You see, there's a bit of a problem here. I just think it's laughable. It's laughable. They didn't say anything about it. They didn't apologize for being wrong. They didn't say they were wrong. They didn't wonder how they could have been wrong. It was just scrubbed and removed. But you know what? I don't forget. The internet doesn't forget. Now, next up, we're going to celebrate a nice little victory. What is our victory this time? Well, it's our victory over the shitty, shady, greedy corporations. That's right. We the gamers, we the fans, we the modders, we the preservationists, we win again. It's all we do. This time, we're looking at Blade Runner, the retro PC game, the old school PC game from the 90s. I've talked about this specific topic before, not just the preservation thing, but Blade Runner specifically. And it doesn't run well. Hell, it arguably doesn't run at all properly on modern PCs because, well, old PC games, as operating systems progress and new ones come out and all, there's less and less compatibility. Even with compatibility modes, virtual machines and whatnot too, there's always generally not perfect, I won't call it emulation, not a perfect situation where the game can run properly and adequately. Now, this is different because a group of modders, coders, programmers, whoever they are, called ScumVM. That's SCUMMVM. They were recently trying to test it and they were trying to trial it, and they were asking people to help them. If you could use the software or whatever it is, the machine that they had created and developed, and you could run it and you could give them feedback to how to improve it and how to get it going properly and all too, so it would get out the bugs and whatnot too. Now, this was a couple of months ago I talked about this and when it actually went live, and people have naturally been doing this. I didn't get around to doing it myself, which I'm actually kind of disappointed in for myself for that way. But they finally succeeded. All the people who love this game, Blade Runner, by the way, is an old school point and click PC game. Fantastic, especially because it's set in Blade Runner setting as well. But PC, just the point and click games are just generally fantastic. So they finally succeeded, and the game now runs properly, flawlessly, perfectly on modern OSs. All because of this team and the people who helped them. It's great. It's a great day. It's an absolutely great day. So if you do have a totally legit copy of the game, be it ISOs or whatever, or even if you have the physical discs, you can download what's called ScumVM I think it's just a typo. But the website I read this on, it said you can download ScumVR, but the team is called ScumVM, so I don't know if their software is called ScumVR or not. But anyway, you can play it with proper compatibility on modern PCs and modern OSs. I think now that it's finally complete and finally done, I know I said this last time too, but I'll finally get around to it, and I love that game, and I'd love to play it again without having to dig out like the Windows PC or the Windows XP PC that's stuck in a wardrobe somewhere that has like a no onboard graphics card and just got a VGA output on it. It's awful. It's awful. But no, I highly recommend everyone do this and play this game if you have access to it in some way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, when Westwood Studios, who were owned by EA, were closed down, any hope for, well, to be honest, any hope for a remake or remaster or re-release even of this game has been completely destroyed, because when this Westwood Studios, the studios who developed it, were obviously shut down by EA. But prior to that, when they were moving offices, they lost the source code. So apparently there's just no way to get around it, which is a damn shame, because video games can be lost in time, like tears in the rain. But speaking of retro games and old games and whatnot, dormant IPs essentially, Capcom have come out and said that they want to revive their dormant IPs, their old school IPs, or stuff that they haven't made a game with in a long, long time. So they've expressed this interest in doing all this based on two specific things: the runaway success and the wild success of Resident Evil 2 Remake earlier this year on Xbox One, PS4 and PC, and Monster Hunter World on, again, PS4, PC and Xbox One. Now, of course, you might remember that Resident Evil 2 was an exceptional remake, looked gorgeous, and it played extremely well. It was much, 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 much what we asked for, and then even more. Even if at first some of us were kind of worried about the changes and all too, it just worked so well, and it was turned out to be such a great game and great experience. Monster Hunter World, of course, was fantastic. The game was no longer trapped on old, underpowered Nintendo hardware like handhelds and whatnot too, but it's now on modern platforms, and it is unleashed, unbound, unchained, whatever it is, and they are no longer dealing with all those technological limitations. The game looks great, it runs great on PC, it's a gorgeous game, and the gameplay is great. It's what you would expect from a modern Monster Hunter game. And of course, this was influenced, well, not so much influenced, but this was reflected in the sales. Within just a couple of months, Monster Hunter World came out and became, no point putting the two of them in there. Monster Hunter World came out, and within a few months, it sold so many copies that it became Capcom's biggest selling game of all time, beating out Resident Evil 5. It beat out a game that was on sale for 9 years at the time. 9 years. And it did it in 2 or 3 months. All because it wasn't limited to crappy, underpowered handheld hardware. Now, don't get me wrong, the 3DS games and the DS games, 3DS games, PSP games, hell, even the Wii games were great in their own way. But Monster Hunter World let the series be what it should be, which is great. Now, this is very interesting because they've already hinted that Okami 2, or a sequel to Okami, might actually be happening. I swear to God, if one of you says the DS one, I can't remember the full title for it, but no, proper sequel to Okami. So, yeah, they've already teased that. Strangely enough, that was teased by, of all people, Ikumi Nakamura. You might remember her as Miss Ghostwire Tokyo game. Yeah, it's kind of strange. But we'll see if that comes back anyway. But what else would you like to see from Capcom's old school dormant IPs? Dino Crisis Remake. Maybe Dino Crisis sequel, Darkstalkers, Power Stone. Me, I'm in for a pound, because I'm Irish. I'm in, to quote the guy from The Saboteur, who's voiced by Robin Atkin Downes, in for a penny, in for a fucking pound. And I'm in for several pounds on a new, proper, quality, proper platform proper platform sequel. PC, Xbox One, PS4, 4K everything, high resolution, 80 hour, 100 hour, whatever it is, Breath of Fire sequel. But that's it for this week, other than our little round out segment that we always know and love so much. But again, there's just so little of it this week. Q, what's going on? What's up? What's the deal? What are you playing? What is up? Anyway, what am I playing? Basically nothing. This week has been very, very dry for me in gaming. I've mostly been just kind of playing at least one game of Horde a day, which is kind of nice. It breaks it up and has a little bit of going anyway. Unfortunately, I was streaming Spyro, which was fun. I was enjoying that, but a new Streamlabs OBS update last night has put a kibosh on that. Because now, for whatever reason it is, the latest Streamlabs OBS update has completely rendered me unable to stream. I say completely because now, even though it will leave me with about 40% overhead on my CPU still remaining while streaming, and maybe about 30% or 40% of GPU overhead still remaining, and of course my RAM and solid state drive has negligible impact on it. Well, now I drop frames like a motherfucker. Something that was previously locked to 60 FPS now drops frames all over the place. And I don't deal with that. When I stream, I know people come here for the quality. They come here for the proper PC gaming master race experience. They don't come here for a juddery, shoddy 30 to 45 FPS thing. If that's the case, they can go play on a console. They know they're going to get that subpar, basic, terrible performance with awful resolution. But no. They come here for quality. They know I'm all about the quality and I can deliver on that. Which is why I refuse to stream like that. Now, unfortunately, that means a couple of questions. One, I want to continue playing Spyro. Do I play it offline and just finish it that way? I'm kind of leaning towards that one a little bit. Two, how is this going to affect other games going forward? Spyro is not an intensive game at all. As I said, when I'm streaming, I still have almost 50% of my CPU remaining. Almost 50%, well, about closer to 30% of my GPU remaining. Memory, not even, it doesn't even come into the equation. Solid state speed, read and access and all, doesn't even come into it. So, how is this going to affect everything going forward? I've streamed other stuff. I've streamed far more intensive games just fine. Can I revert to an old version? I've messed around with the settings a little bit, and that didn't really do anything. So it leaves me at a crossroads. It gives me a conundrum. I think I'm not going to make the decision right now, but I am leaning forward towards finishing it just offline, playing it myself and all, because I was going to do that anyway. I just decided I'd stream it while I was at it. So I think I might do that. I'm not making the decision yet, but it also brings up other questions, other games in general. I know in December, I believe it is the start of December, I have to stream the final episode of Life is Strange 2. Again, not a demanding game whatsoever. Am I going to have issues with that? Is this going to prevent me from streaming any other games as well? Do I have to come up and learn and learn how to use all this new software and all too? I know with the consoles and all in the meantime, I can just get away with streaming through the Elgato software. Not a perfect situation, but it may have to do. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how it all plays out and what I can rustle up and what I can wrangle. But it's disappointing for sure anyway. But I will probably be starting Yakuza Kiwami 2 today. I'm recording this fairly early, so I haven't started it just yet, so I'll probably be starting it between when you see this video and all too. I want to get that in as my main game, my main deal for now. I just can't play Final Fantasy VIII. I just can't do it. The game is so ridiculously bad in basically every way. I want to do it. I even have these times where I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to play it. I can't wait to get into it. And even when I sit down and I'm still in that mindset, 10 minutes later, the game just turns me off. I hate it so much. I don't want to hate it. I want to give it a shot. It's such a struggle. It's such a slog. I don't know if I'll ever do it. Kind of a shame. But yeah, Yakuza Kiwami 2 starting today. Hopefully, I don't think I'll have it done within a week. But I'm not going to rush it. But I would like it if I had it done in a week. Mainly because later this week, we have two things that I will be able to play. Now, luckily, one of them is a fairly small thing that I can just weave in and out for one day. One of them is a bit bigger, but we have the Medieval remake on PS4 that is going to launch this Friday. I probably won't have it till Monday, maybe actually, but that'll be nice in a way as well. Now, the big problem with that is I played the demo. I've been looking forward to Medieval the entire time. I love Medieval, and when I found out they were remaking it, I thought it was going to be fantastic. Every trailer they've showed off, the majority of them at least anyway, had crippling, woeful performance issues. Luckily, when the demo came out, there didn't seem to be any performance issues. Some people said they experienced them. There may have been like one or two frame drops in when I was playing it, but I only played it for maybe 15 minutes, and there's only basically two small levels, the first two levels. So it has me worried in a sense, not because of the performance. I'm not expecting a 60 FPS patch because it is a console game. But what does worry me is that during all my time spent with the demo, the control felt a little off and the camera control felt terrible. Now, I'm hoping that I can adapt to that based on once I play it for more than 15 minutes. So once I play the full game and whatnot, it'll hopefully be a bit better. And maybe, just maybe, well, we all know it will be probably, hopefully anyway, PS4 Pro patched, but hopefully that alleviates some of the difficulties and some of the problems anyway. I don't know how it would. Maybe it wasn't finished code that they used in the demo. We'll see. We'll see. And of course, the Capcom Home Arcade is the other one coming as well. That should be, well, that launches on the same day, this upcoming Friday the 25th. So I probably won't have it until maybe the week after. But that's something I'm looking forward to playing and banging out a bunch of the arcade games. Slap it up on here on the desk and just play with a big arcade stick. You'll hear all those nice button smashes, all the nice arcade stick moving, all the smashes and the mashes. It's going to be glorious. AVP, of course, will be played, not to mention some of the other great beat-em-ups on there too. But damn, is it an ugly piece of hardware. Giant Capcom logo, what were you thinking? Capcom, no baby, what is you doing? But other than that, the only other thing I can talk about is maybe Luigi's Mansion, but that comes out the week after. That comes out on the 31st, so I probably won't have it till like 2 or 3 days later, so that's even further away to not worry about. Actually, I can probably mention Final Fantasy XIV's 5.1 patch with the Nier raid. The 24-man Nier raid is going to be out on the 29th. So while that isn't in the upcoming week, I will be playing that. I may stream the 24-man raid. I don't know. Final Fantasy XIV is just so meh to me that I will probably go back for one day, play all the content, and I might just leave it at that. But anyway, that's it for this week. We are done. It's been a semi-interesting / lackluster week anyway, but that is unfortunately the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, so disappointed. Just so disappointed. Anyway, in the meantime, I want to thank everyone for joining me, shooting the shit with me as always, because, well, that's what makes this what it is. As of course, always, why can I just can't. I can't outro today. Sorry guys, I just can't outro today. Let me just do it easy. We'll take it slow. If you have any thoughts and opinions, comments or anything in any of these topics, feel free to slide into the comment section at the bottom here. Throw in your little 2 cents, and of course, as always, if you find anything particularly interesting that maybe piques your interest, and I'm curious if it piques mine, feel free to throw it down there as well, or slide into those open DMs on Twitter, one of the many reasons they are open. So, as always, hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video. Of course, we all know how you really did, so we all know which one you'd be clicking. In the meantime, feel free to hit the subscribe button, even ring the little notification bell, so you can always tell when one of these exceptionally high-quality videos that I put so much effort into every weekend goes live. Even if YouTube has other ideas about when to give you these notifications and whatnot. But hey, you tried. That's the important part. And I commend you for it, even if I am not Orange Cassidy. Anyway, peace out everyone. Thank you so much for watching, sticking with me for all this. And remember, the winners don't play switchboards.